soundbite one time and somebody actually said to me, "Was that Teddy Roosevelt?" It's like, they clearly flunked history. So JFK and Jackie lived in that apartment. Well, technically lived, I'll use air quotes there. That was their legal address. For the 1960 presidential election. And if you're wondering, well, where did they go to vote? You see the church to your right front? The Old West Church, the basement of the church was the polling place. And that's where JFK and Jackie cast their ballots. Now, wouldn't you love to find out who they voted for? Imagine if you had access to that. The Old West Church been here for a long time. It's been here since 1806. It was designed by Asher Benjamin. If you don't know that name, he was a very talented apprentice for another local architect, a guy named Charles Bulfinch. Bulfinch is considered the first great American architect. Bulfinch designed the building right next to the church, and this was a mansion for Harrison Gray Otis, who was governor of Massachusetts for a time. This was the second of 3 homes that Bulfinch designed for Mr. Otis. This is what this whole street was like at one point. There were row after row of beautiful mansions lining the street. That one still exists, and that is run as a museum today. And folks, this street that you're on right now is called Cambridge Street. And it's one of the few streets in the city that actually makes sense. Because if you stay on Cambridge Street, where do you end up? Cambridge, right? Don't get used to this. Most of the city makes no sense. Most of the property on your right is owned by the Massachusetts General Hospital, MGH as we know it. Not only the biggest hospital in the city, it is also the largest employer in Boston. This one hospital employs over 13,000 people. Yeah, medicine is huge. Medicine is always at the #1 or #2 spot for top industries in the city. So the 2 industries that kind of jockey back and forth. We have finance, second largest financial district outside of Wall Street, and we have medicine. 25 inpatient hospitals in Boston. Just in the city itself, 25 inpatient hospitals. Yeah, it's huge. So those are the top 2. Our #3 industry kind of goes hand in hand with medicine, education. Greater Boston area, if you draw a map, take a map and draw like a 20-mile radius of Boston, there are 88 colleges and universities. Highest student population in the USA, right here in the metropolitan Boston. 300,000 students come here every year. You might want to cover your ears for a moment, folks. So 290,000 students come here every year, and they all show up at the same time. Last week in August, first week in September, it's called Move-In Week. 290,000 students come here. I call it the U-Haul convention, because all you see is moving vans everywhere you look. Yeah, it's quite intense, let me tell you. Okay, so we're going to leave Boston behind, and since we're on Cambridge Street, we're going to head over to Cambridge. We're going to cross the Longfellow Bridge, named for the famous poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. We call the bridge by a nickname. If you look in front of us at the support columns, you can see why. We call it the Salt and Pepper Shaker Bridge. Looks like salt and pepper shakers, doesn't it? The old support columns. Charles River is underneath you. That is the dividing line between Boston and Cambridge. The line goes right down the middle of the river. So right about here, right now you're in Cambridge. So Cambridge is in front of us. Everything in front to your left for about a mile is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. You know by the initials. M.I.T, of course. That school began in 1860. It was over there behind you. It was called B.I.T. It was the Boston Institute of Technology. Moved here in 1916. That's when they changed the name to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Harvard close.
Is Harvard close? Yeah, it's 2 miles straight ahead. You can easily get there at the next stop by taking the subway, just 2 stops up. Or if you don't mind the little walk, it's about 2 miles down to Harvard Square. 2 miles, yeah. If you've got time, Harvard is one of those places that's well worth visiting. Even if you just get out, take a walk around the yard, and come back again, you won't be disappointed. Harvard's really cool. But this area is called Technology Square, and it's called that because of its location next to M.I.T. A lot of these these very talented graduates come to work in the high-tech companies over here. Draper Labs, Lotus, just to name a few. When JFK was president, NASA was one of his pet projects. He wanted NASA headquarters right here in Technology Square. He figured you have all the young talent coming out of MIT, perfect location. U.S. government built these buildings on your right as NASA headquarters. It never happened. JFK was killed in office. Who took over for Kennedy? Johnson. Where was Johnson from? Texas. NASA headquarters, Houston. Probably makes sense though. Imagine if you ever heard it from here. Cambridge, we have a problem. Don't quite sound the same. MIT, you know that's not an easy school. Those are just branches on the roof. Don't worry about that. Branches not used to the trolleys yet. So MIT, not an easy school to get into. Unlike a lot of other famous schools though, legacy does not help you. Your mother and father went here, good for you, pat on the back, does not help you to get in. It's strictly by grades. I think that's good, that's the way it should be, really. Of course, getting in is only half the battle. Staying in or graduating would be the other half, right? Every student here can tell you the same story. It does not matter what your major is, but in your freshman year alone, you must take and pass 4 required courses in no particular order: chemistry, biology, physics, and calculus. That's in 1 year. I can see that maybe over the 4-year period, but man, that's a workload. All those in 1 year? Not easy. Nope. MIT students, you know, that in addition to being very smart, they're also known for their practical jokes. Around here anyways, a whole group of them called hackers. They perform all these stunts. Every year they try to outdo the class before them. There's a dome building down the way on the campus, the Rogers building. They love to pick on that poor building. If you look to your right through the building so you can see it there, they painted it to look like R2-D2. But the funniest thing they ever did was they put a police car on the roof of the building.
Oh my God.
It was a replica of a police car. It had a mannequin in the front seat dressed in a campus police uniform, cup of coffee in one hand, box of donuts. My name's Welby. We're going to leave stop 6, our one and only Cambridge stop. Play some of our safety rules from one of our celebrity voices once again.
Well, howdy there, pilgrims. While you're on our little buggy here, please don't smoke those cigars or drink that whiskey. And stay in your saddles at all times. Keep your arms and legs in, and you better watch out for those low-hanging branches. They'll test your true grit.
That one's not bad, the John Wayne one. I kind of like that one too. So those are our safety rules, folks. We have courtesy rules too. They're pretty simple. Just remember it's a narrated tour. And with that said, if you need to talk, just try to whisper. If you have a cell phone, we ask you do not use it on the trolley. We're going to leave leave Cambridge behind and go back into Boston. Right now we'll go back over the Longfellow Bridge. And that's when you'll start getting views of Boston when we go back that way. Cambridge is just as old as Boston. This city was settled as a town in 1630. It was the first capital of the Massachusetts colony. They moved the capital of Boston in 1638, where it has remained. Much smaller geographically, Boston's about 45 square miles. Cambridge is only 6.5 square miles. Population-wise, very densely populated city. Cambridge is home to over 100,000 people living in 6.5 square miles. Yeah, it sure is a lot of people. If you're from Cambridge, you'll call yourself a Cantabrigian. I know, it just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It's Latin for Cambridge. Cantabrigia is the Latin word for Cambridge. So they got to be smart about it, as we say. As you get back up on the bridge, you look to your right front, you get some great views up here. I'm going to go as slow as they let me go on this bridge. Isn't that beautiful? Tallest building in the city, folks, is on your right. You see the glass building with the black vertical stripe? That's the Hancock building, 62 stories. Second tallest building is to the right of that, the Prudential building at 52 stories. The Prudential is stop 9, and that's where you go if you want the view. There's an observation room on the 50th floor called the Skywalk. On a day like today, you probably see about 100 miles from the top of the building. At about a 2 o'clock orientation, you look to your right front on the banks of the river, you see a brownish colored dome. That's the outdoor theater called the Hatch Shell, H-A-T-C-H, named for Edward Hatch. We have free concerts here all summer long, but the biggest one every year, without a doubt, July 4th. Boston Hops Esplanade. So just imagine